Hi everyone, welcome to our Piximi Annotator app. What we're going to do today is we're going to annotate an image together. So to start is we're going to find an image to annotate. I actually had this one right there. Then I'm going to drag and drop into my canvas. And the other way that you could have also opened this image is just by clicking on the open image menu. You can also drag and drop multiple images at once. It'll just show as a list of images here. And again, you can open your Finder and shift click to open multiple images at once. So looking at this image, what I first wanted to show you was the use of the zoom tool and the hand tool. If you would like to zoom in or out of the image, you can just first select the zoom tool and then zoom in or out the way you would like it. You can also do things like clicking towards an object of interest. First, you need to make sure that you uncheck this box right here so that you're not zooming in towards the center. And say I want to zoom in towards the bird, then I'm just going to click around that bird and get to the area that I'd like to get to. Um, Other thing that you can do is you can select the hand tool and you can pan the image around. And as you annotate, this could be very helpful to make sure that the object of interest is where you would like it to be on your canvas. Okay, so looking at this image, let's try to annotate it. We see that bird, so we're going to try to annotate this bird, and we also see a bench, so let's try to annotate the bench as well. The first thing we're going to do is, because we see the only category we have is the unknown categories, let's go ahead and create a new category for our bird. And let's do the same for the bench. If you're unhappy with the colors that were selected, you can always edit category and click on this color area here and choose the color that you would prefer. You can also change the name of your categories, etc. So looking at our different annotation tools that we have available here. Here, the rectangular annotation tool allows you to do a simple bounding box type of annotation around your bird. So having done my annotation simply by clicking and holding and dragging around my object, I have two different ways to confirm. I can either click on this confirm button that shows up here. I can also press enter on my keyboard. So let's go ahead and confirm. If it turns out that I'm unhappy with this annotation, I go to the select tool, I select it, and here I clicked on it to select it. What I could have done also is in the select tool, I could have just drawn a region around the instances of interest, and once I released my mouse, it would have detected all the different instances that have been selected. There's also different ways to select. If you have multiple instances that were annotated as a bird category, then if you were to click there, all of the birds in your images would show. So there's really more than one way to do things. So I'm going to select it, and I'm actually going to delete this instance because I want to play with this bird a bit more. To do that, I can either press delete on my keyboard, or I can click on clear selected annotation. Other semi-basic tools that we have are the elliptical annotations. If for whatever reason you need to draw a circle, you'll notice that our category reverted back to the unknown category. That was an effect of clearing the selected annotation, pressing on this button. So what we can do is we can actually change the category simply by clicking on bird and confirming, and we have now the correct category. We can also change the category anytime. If I decide that this should be the unknown category, I would just click on the unknown category and confirming again. So you can switch around things very easily. Let's again delete this annotation. Let's click on the bird category, because every annotation I want to do next are going to be for the bird. The final tool that I wanted to show you, or the final semi-basic tool, is the polygonal tool. Every time that I click, I make a new anchor point, and I can just draw shapes around my bird, just like that. Now, other pretty fun tools that I wanted to play with today are those ones right here, and also the pen annotation tool. So let's go ahead and go back to selecting the bird. And I'm going to use the lasso annotation tool to, as closely as possible, go around that bird and draw the boundaries around it. And I'm going to make some mistakes along the way, and that's completely okay. We can repair those mistakes, and I'll show you how to do that. So once I get near my white point, I can just release, and it's going to close things automatically. Let's say I'm happy with this annotation. I'm going to confirm it, but I can always modify it by, again, going into Select Annotation tool, selecting it, and I can choose whatever tool I would like to use to then make corrections to this annotation. I recommend using the pen annotation tool. It allows you to go to the areas that you would like to go to make changes fairly easily. The pen annotation tool also has a brush size that you can vary. So here I see that there's some missing areas. So let's go ahead and take a somewhat small of a brush size. I'm going to make sure that once this annotation tool has been selected, the pen annotation tool, in this case, I click on Add Area, and I'm going to add the missing areas. So I'm just going to draw. Again, this is not perfect, but it's really just to show you what we can do. I'm going to draw on the missing areas. Now, say I made a mistake when drawing and I decided to draw over this whole region here. I'm not happy with that, so I can just switch to the subtract area mode. And again, where I want things to be removed, I would draw over them. So here I'm really just holding and dragging, and I release. And on release, it's going to update with the new annotation. If I want to try to grab that tail, I can pan a bit, zoom a bit, again, go back to the pen annotation tool. I can add an area, modify the brush size, and get a bit of this region here. Let's confirm. Okay, so we can reset the position. And we have our annotated bird. It's not a perfect annotation, but you can always correct it and make it as perfect as you would like to. So that's for the lasso tool. The magnetic annotation tool is a pretty nice tool as well. It really depends on what type of objects you have in your image. If you have objects that have good edges, then you can use the magnetic annotation tool to go around those edges. And I'm just going to show you quickly around this bench, even though it's not an ideal object as well. But as you can see, I clicked. This is my origin point. And now I'm just moving my mouse around. And as I move around, it's trying to find the edges that are around, and it's trying to snap to them automatically. Now, this bench is not ideal for this particular tool because it has a lot of holes and a lot of different ways to go around the edges. So I won't show you how to demonstrate more than that. But just so you know, if you have an object that has those type of edges, you can just use the magnetic tool to quickly go around those objects and make your annotation. And to close an annotation, you would just have to simply go back and clicking on the origin point, and that would close it. The color annotation tool and the quick annotation tools are also really great tools to keep in mind for getting annotations, accurate annotations, and in a fast way. So let's delete, once again, this annotation, and let's try to use the annotation tool. Select the bird category, and we're going to use the color annotation tool to draw on the bird. The bird has a very blackish, a bit of a bluish color. So what we're going to do with the color annotation tool is we're going to select one pixel by clicking on that pixel. And we're going to, so I'm going to click, and I'm going to move my mouse around. And as you can see, what happens is that all colors that are similar to the one I clicked in originally are going to be highlighted and suggested as my annotation. So this is not bad. It's suggested a lot of pixels that have to do with the bird, but unfortunately it's going more towards the background that I would like it to be. So I'm going to release. This is an example annotation, and I'm going to add area, and I'm going to try to find different colors that are more appropriate for the bird. Here I'm clicking on this black pixel, hoping that it grabs a bit more of the bird. So we're just drawing around the bird. And again, whatever mistakes we make, or whatever areas are not annotated, we can easily annotate them later. Let's confirm this. Let's zoom in a bit, drag, and select. Let's see if we can do a bit better with our color annotation. I'm going to go into the add area mode because I want to add it to this bird. So it's grabbing a bit too much of the white pixels also, or whitish pixels are in the background. So let's go into pen annotation tool and just draw over the missing regions of the bird. So that's just something to keep in mind. For images, for objects, sorry, that are very well defined by their color, you can just select them. And the color will be highlighted right away. Let's do this again. Okay. So you can always just go back, whatever missing area you find, you can annotate. Really depends on how much of a perfectionist you would like to be. All right, let's confirm. Zoom out a bit of the image. Now let's look at the bench. I wanted to show you also the quick annotation tool. The quick annotation tool is going to compute all the superpixels that are in your image. And the hope is that the areas that you're trying to grab can be well defined by the superpixels of your object. And again, you can always annotate and make changes later. It's really just a way to accelerate the annotation process. So let's use a superpixel. You can choose different sizes of superpixels with the brush size once you've selected the superpixel tool. So see here, I'm showing smaller superpixels, and here I'm going to choose larger ones. So I'm going to click on the bench category because I'm about to draw on the bench. I'm going to reduce the brush size a little bit. And as you can see, there are a few mistakes that I'm making along the way, but I am not worried about those because we can always correct them. We have the majority of our bench that is annotated. I can either confirm and change it, but let's change it now. I'm going to subtract a few areas like this one here. Oh, I did a bit too much. Let's go back to adding. All right, so as you can see, sometimes the best thing to do is just to grab the pen annotation tool, and the areas that we're not happy with are just going to be selected and removed. And similarly, the areas that we do want to see, we can just go into the add mode and select these as well. I see that there are some annotated regions that I did not want, like right here, little artifacts from the superpixels. We could also choose to not have this area here, and add this here, and there we go. We have our bench that has been selected, so we can confirm. So once you have your different objects that are selected, there's multiple things you can do. A good idea would be to save your project. That way you make sure that you don't lose your work, first of all. So here I just went on save and save project file. If I was to reload the page, my image and my annotations are not there anymore, but all I have to do is open project file, and I opened the project.json that was just downloaded, and all of my annotations are there. I can still select them, correct them, do whatever I would like with them. And also, we realize that annotations are often used for other things like deep learning pipelines or other types of image analysis pipelines. So we offer different ways to save and export your annotations. Let's go, I'm just for the purpose of demonstrating this, I'm going to draw an imaginary bird right here. So let's assume that there's a bird there. And I'm going to try to save those different annotations as different formats. So the label of instant masks, I'll show you what it looks like. It's for each instance, we are going to have, for each category that we are going to have the instant colored that is, each has a different color. So a random color will have been assigned to that bird, another random color would have been assigned to the other bird. And similarly, if there had been other benches around, then other colors would have been assigned to those benches. You could also have chosen to export your annotations as instance masks. Again, here for each category, you're going to have a different instance that is saved as just as a black and white image for your category. If you're more interested in the category, so this is more for semantic segmentation tasks, then you can choose to export things in labeled semantic masks, where what you're going to see is you're going to see a single image with all the instances that have the same category are going to have the same color. And finally, the export annotations that binary semantic masks are going to show for each category a single image, and it's just to be a black and white image. So assume you have your bird here and another bird there. Each of them will be this white object in the image. And the label instance, the label matrices one is very similar to the label instance mask. It's just that instead of encoding things as visible colors, it's going to encode things as 1 or 2 or 3. But then you can easily preprocess that in any NumPy pipeline that you'd like, or other sorts of image analysis pipelines. I also wanted to show you the docs that are integrated as part of our annotation app. You can read about opening images or manipulating the canvas, i.e. zooming or changing the colors of the image or panning, creating categories, changing, annotating. So as you read the docs, you can play around with the different tools that we have and the different export formats, etc. And if there are some issues with this Piximi annotator, which is still under development, so of course there will be, you can just either write up your message here, and that will lead you to GitHub, and you can log into your account and actually post a GitHub issue, or you can always just go directly on our GitHub repo and submit an issue there. So of course, we're very much looking forward to your feedback to just keep improving on this. And that's all I wanted to show today. Thank you so much for your time.